Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Nate, and today we're going to learn how to tie-dye mandala. Please check over the supply list, make sure you got all your supplies needed, and then we'll get started. All right, you're going to want to turn the shirt inside out and lay it face side up. You're going to want to get it as flat as possible, as smooth as possible on both sides. You need to make sure the left side and the right side are completely even with the mandala. Mandalas are the ties that are as close to perfection as possible. So that's what we need to do here. Any little variance, anything that's off will throw off your mandala pattern. Okay, so we're going to come through here, make sure every wrinkle is out. Make sure the shirt is the exact same on both sides. Yeah, so you can stick your hand under, get any wrinkles out if you need to. Like, take little pinches and just sort of pull. It helps pull the fabric together. If you need to iron, I guess you can, well, I don't know if I would iron. There's soda ash on this already. I'm not sure if you can iron soda ash or not. I've never actually ironed one of these. So just take your time. This is a fold that takes a while, or a design that takes a while. So don't worry about spending any little extra time in any of the steps, because all of that extra time will be worth it. So spend the time to make sure your shirt is correct. If you feel something that's off and go, oh, that'll be all right, we'll just deal with that later, you'll see that in the end every single time. It's like, oh, why did I do that? I thought it would be okay, but no. Okay. Wear smooth, wear flat. Washable marker. So we need to find the middle point here. To do that, take the two ends, bring them to a point, just like that. So right here is our middle point. So we're going to mark both sides, front and back. And then the middle of the shirt, up on top. I always do that one by eye. You can tell where the middle of the collar is. And then I've got this meter stick right here. We're going to mark our center line. All right, there's the center of our shirt. Okay. Now we're going to turn this to the side. I'm going to do the sleeve through sleeve method. Okay, so I do that, picking this point just from the top layer and this point from the collar, pulling up, and then pulling them so it puts some tension right there, and lifting up, and then laying out like this. So we're going to make sure this line is good and flat here. Pull this down, make sure those are level. Your shirt may not be 100% even. Not all shirts are. It's very common for them to be a little wavy down here. The most important part right here is this middle line. Once you've got this middle line here, everything out from there will be in line as long as there's no like major wrinkles in here somewhere. It will always line up as long as this line is right here on the line. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. We're gonna take, so sleeve through sleeve is you stick your hand from one sleeve all the way through to the other, grab that end of the sleeve, pull it through. You line up your seams, make sure these are even, and spread the sleeve out. If you got a big enough hand, just kind of hold it open. Come up to this seam here, and then line up the seam that runs up the shoulder right here, so that this side and this side here are actually lined up. And you can feel by running your fingers along it, I can feel the seam on both sides. Okay, so now we're going to start to flatten out our shirt. So once this is all lined up, once your seams are lined up, I make a pinch about right here, because there is going to be a fold right here in the middle. So now we're going to start to take out all of our wrinkles here. Any wrinkles that are left in it will show as a, so if all of your pattern is perfect, but then you have some like random wrinkle or something in there, you'll see a weird like glitch almost in the pattern where it's doubled over where it shouldn't be. And so you'll want to try to get all of these wrinkles out as best as possible. So I can feel one down there below. Okay. And sometimes you're going to have to move this back and forth, kind of slowly, get the shirt all unwrinkled on both sides. Be sure to spend your time and do it correctly. Don't rush yourself, especially on one of these mandalas. Smooth is better. So take your time, get it all done well. So if anything moves, go back and fix it. Sometimes it can be frustrating if you set something and then you move it and you're like, oh, I got to go back and move that. I don't want to do that. I spent all that time. Just go back and do it. It'll be much better in the end. So now I reach under here in this fold that I made. I make sure everything in it is also smooth, because it wants, with it being on the, this is like your waist. So armpit going down to the hip down here. So this is going to be the side of the stomach. Get all those wrinkles out. Get it nice and smooth. Here we go. And then I'm going to check this other side again. I can feel right here the shoulder is a little off. So I'm going to have to reach in there and push that layer up into here. There we go. Get this all smoothed out. This will be the last time. that we work on this side. Okay. So that's our, as you can probably see how it's a little bit wider right here. This is our line. That's our fold line. So we're just going to fold straight over and flatten this out. This gives us a nice smooth canvas to work with. All right, now the shirt is ready for the measurements. So a good starting point, about 2 fingers under the armpit, straight across, and right there. So we're just gonna make a little mark right here. So this is gonna be the center of our mandala. It's got the protractor. Line it up right there. And we're gonna make a point at every 20 degrees. So right here at the 180, we're just going to count down every 20 and just put a point. So right here, 160, 140, 120, 100, 80, 60, 40, 20, 0. Now obviously, we don't actually need so many at the points. So we've already got our line right here. Now that we've got those marked, take the ruler. We're going to see how far we have over here to the collar. So we got a good ways. See how far we got over here. So we could do, we're going to mark out 8 inches. And so this is going to be a 16-inch mandala when it's done. Okay, so that line is our, actually what we're going to do here is at that 8-inch mark. Just going to put a little bit thicker line just so that I know that's the end. And then we're going to line up each point and draw an 8-inch line. So if you've got like thick markers like I do right here, the thicker markers, you have to sort of adjust for the thickness of the marker. So be sure you get your lines as good as possible. If they are off, what it'll do is it'll make each layer a little bit taller or shorter. And so when you go to tie it, they'll start to overlap, and you can get inconsistencies in your dye. And so you'll want to get these lines all as close as you're able to. So you see how I use the pinky of the hand that I'm drawing with to put pressure on the ruler so that when I draw, it doesn't move the ruler. Because I can't really hold all the way from that end right there. There's different ways to be able to hold this ruler still, but you don't want it to move at all. So you can hold it completely still with one hand, draw with the other. Let those ambidextrous skills take over. So we've only got a couple more left here. Yeah, and so this is a type of fan fold. This is just the higher end of the fan fold. So you could even do like a super crude version of this that's not going to be done all 100% perfect just by putting your finger here and just folding it up like a fan. But so we've got our measurements here. Now it shows us where to make each of those folds in the fan fold so that we can do this perfect. If you need some clips, I use quite a few different style of clips to hold stuff. They're all different sizes. They all hold different areas. It makes it much easier once we start folding up for everything to stay in place. Okay, so I'm going to start right here. I'm going to put my finger on the middle. In the very first fold, I'm going to fold it over to that next one. Just kind of set that first fold and then make a pinch and pick the rest of it up. So we're going to pinch it all the way in. And it's very important that all of these stay level as you fold them. And so that's where the clips come in. So you want to make sure that you're lined up perfect, lined up even. We're only going to here for our mandala. And depending on the pattern that you want to do for the rest of the shirt will depend on whether you extend this all the way out, kind of like how a fan fold would go all the way out. But what we're going to do is, so I'm going to put a small clip here. And sometimes it's actually easier to wait till you have one or two, or probably two or three, to clip it, because see how this folds over because there's only one. It's like I'll be able to hold this, but I'm going to show this just for you. So we're going to do a different pattern out here. We're going to do the Rorschach scrunch outside for the rest of this. And so we don't have to extend this all the way out. It does help a little bit, but really all we're going to focus on is this. And once we get around to over here, I'm going to be pulling some of this out. So I'm going to take this clip back off. So a lot of times what I'll do when I fold, the clip doesn't stay on when I'm folding all the time. It'll be there when I'm focused on a certain area. So the clip will go on, clip will go off. I'll go back and forth. But go over out here to the outside and pinch and bring that up to your others so that your purple line is lined up all with the rest of these. And as this starts moving, as I start to tie, I'm going to start pulling the shirt in this way. So you'll start to see everything start moving. Once you get real close to the middle here, these folds are not really the easiest to fold. You can use tweezers or something if you want to work that fold in as far as possible. If your fingers aren't able to, I throw my pinky in here, try to hold some of this. Pinky seems to be a decent stabilizer. It's that extra hand when you need a hand but don't have the hand. You're like, oh, there's a finger in there. Throw that in there. It moves different than the rest of the fingers. Okay, so I'm going to start to move the shirt just a little bit. Make sure all this stays in line so we can actually come over here, take our clip. And it's a little bit more stable now that there are three. And work on this middle a little bit again. Okay. And then a clip out here. Use a little bit bigger clip on the outside. I'm going to take this next one. And we're going to continue to do the same thing. This is a very tedious pattern. If you want a good mandala, you'll take your time. You'll do it slow and do it well. This isn't a process that can be rushed. There's a reason why these have a higher price on them from the guys that do these. So the longer you spend, the better it is. Now there is a point where you can possibly spend too much time. You got to figure out the limitations of the shirt and the material you're working with. Start from the center here and work your way out. Make sure your folds stay level and in line. You don't want to have to do much adjusting in here. The more adjusting that you have to do, that means something is off. So try to make sure that when it's lined up, everything is in line. Actually, I'm going to use one of these clips. These clips open up quite a bit more. I actually use those other clips to hang tapestries and stuff whenever I'm selling and vending out in places. They've got little plastic teeth that are on them that hold the fabric pretty well so that they don't fly away in the wind. I deal with a lot of wind out there all the time. It never stops. Just when you think it's going to stop, it blows the other direction. You're like, what is happening? Please, can I just have a day with no wind? And yeah, sometimes you can have a day with no wind because you just asked for a day. So I've figured out wind better. I haven't dealt with like 40, 50 mile an hour gusts, but we had some 30, 35 mile an hour gusts at one of the festivals that I was at earlier this year. It rained a little bit too. I had 2 canopies set up. I had all my stuff there to sell. And so I'm going to pull this out right here. Plus, I had also brought the tie-dye station for people to come tie-dye. And I had tapestries hanging. I had all kinds of stuff. And wind was blowing good. I ended up buying 60 pounds of weight to hang. But I had 2 canopies, so I kind of didn't really have enough weight hanging from it. But I also use these metal grids that I create some that I was using just to put some U-shaped bars on, and was hanging lots of clothes from, and that was a lot of weight in itself. Each of the bars probably, each of the grids probably weighed a few pounds each, plus the bars weighing a couple pounds each, and then the clothes adding a bunch of weight to it, and then all of my racks inside, I tied paracord to and hung from the top of the canopy as well, so that everything was tied down. And so I just added lots and lots of weight, and nothing took off. All my tapestries were good. It did get pretty wet. I did have to use over in my camping area, I forgot to bring the walls for that canopy, and so I brought a bunch of tapestries up there and used them for walls on my canopy. And it worked really well. It was very windy, so I had to tie them down pretty good. It was all in all, it was a good experience. It was definitely something different dealing with rain. I think it rained 2 of the days out there, but even with those 2 days of rain, I was still able to keep everything pretty much dry and did really well. I always enjoy it out there at the river. Okay, so we got quite a few more here clipped. It's almost the max of what one of these clips will hold. Work our way back out. I'm going to put the bigger clip on these so that I can adjust the shirt. We're making sure everything is in line. Clamp that right there. And I'm going to turn the whole shirt this way. I like to work straight in front of me. Makes it quite a bit easier, actually. So if you need to move, be sure to move the whole shirt as one so that you don't move any of your folds. Make sure I'm in a good spot on the camera real quick. Okay, oh yeah, it's definitely all right. Okay, so I'm gonna come through, give everything a nice good squeeze. Give it some memory. And we're working here on this next. Oop. Yeah, always careful doing that. I have definitely hit stuff like this before and pulled everything to where it all came out and you got to redo it all. Definitely don't want to have to redo all this work. But if something happens, just go ahead and just redo it. Make sure it's done correct. Because you don't want to accidentally mess up your mandala and then be like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I think I can deal with it. And then you go back and all of a sudden, when you're done, it does not look how you want because you see that spot where you messed up. I have definitely had that happen before. Yeah, I started making mandalas at the beginning, kind of early on, and I saw that a bunch of other people were making mandalas, and I was not really wanting to do the same thing that the other dyers were doing, and so I worked more on my isolations that I was doing, and that's what got me doing the animals and faces and all that stuff. And I really enjoy the isolations. I'm actually wearing an isolation shirt right here, so you can see. I have to hold over. Yeah, some of these isolations here. So I'm actually probably going to be making a video on how to do something very similar to what I'm wearing, just not quite as complicated because this one was many hours of work. And the videos that take many hours, that's just a lot. So I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit. And then if you guys want to try to complicate it, you can. I'll explain how in the video. Just like these mandalas. I've done the fan fold. I just recorded an eye earlier. The eye is kind of similar to this, although a little different. Similar to a fan fold as well, although a little different. It incorporates the isolation techniques into it. Let's see if I can get this on. It's about as big as this clip goes. These clips are nice. I just got at the dollar store back when everything was still $1. These clips have been real nice, although they do sometimes the pink pieces come off, and the metal will definitely um, it reacts to the soda ash. You'll see the soda ash start building up, and I guess the metal's oxidizing, so it'll turn white. And I think some of them were rusting. After I started figuring that out, I had some. I think it was the ones I was using in ice dyeing that got all messed up. The ice dyeing in the water and the soda ash and all that metal does not do well with soda ash. All right, so I'm on my second to last fold right here. So the middle, you're never going to be able to get these folds all the way to the middle. They're going to stop about here. That's why you see all the different patterns in the center. There gets to be like a limitation, a physical limitation on the fabric in the center. And you just can't get detail that small. Maybe with a microscope, who knows? Okay. Let's see if I can clip this. So I'm going to give it a good squeeze. See if it'll stay tight enough. All right. Got that on there without messing up the pattern. Move it down a little bit right there. Always be gentle when moving all this. Too rough of a movement can undo so much of your work. You just do not want that to happen. I see a fold that's gone down a little bit. All right, so our last fold right up to meet. Make sure everything is good and level. All right, let's see if we can get this clip on here. Yep, I'm barely on there. I do not clip up here. I can actually probably move this up a little bit, about there. It's about as far up as I'll clip. And then I'll work on this if I need to when I go to tie it. So you want to make sure all your folds here are level. Sometimes some will fall down just a little bit. All right, nice and level all the way up. I got one of these clips right here. Put that one there. And I'm going to grab another one of those clips. Put that right there. And right here. Take your sinew. And it's easier to start farther up this way, but not quite all the way in the center. So I'm going to start right where this clip is. Actually, just a little bit in. So the farthest point that I feel that I can make my pedal formation. That's typically where I make this first tie. So I'm just going to put my thumb here to hold that. And I'm going to gently wrap this around. Probably about 3 times before I give it a little, just a little tightening snug, that's all. And then 2 more to lock it in. So there's our first tie. So you can work this way first if you want, or you can do the petals. So I haven't quite decided what I actually want to do here. So like you can take it apart and tie like Kenny styles and stuff into the front. So we're gonna leave. Yeah, we're gonna leave the center here, and we're gonna tie this with some fishing line. No, actually, let's see. I'm gonna do a quick. So what I'm gonna do is like a Kenny style tie around this. So I was kind of arguing with myself there. I do that sometimes. Okay, so I'm just gonna do something simple here. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a spiral up it, and then a spiral back down it. See if I can get this underneath. And it's gonna just create just a little pattern right there in the middle. Very similar to what we're doing over here, but slightly different. Slightly different. Okay. We don't want it to twist, but we do want some tension on there. So I'm gonna hold that still. Put it around here just to give it a little edge right here to grab. And so now I'm going to move these down. So I'm going to have my hand here to hold this. So now's the part where we make the pedal. So the pedal here is made by going at an angle from the bottom to the top and holding. And then on this side, you're going to angle back down to the bottom, and you're going to pull that till it grabs and makes an edge. And then I wrap around here to, I always wrap one back before going over. And then we're going to follow that again. So I'm going to wrap around here about 2 times right there. You don't want to pull that thing too tight because it will slip and go all the way over. And I'm going to zoom in on this for y'all. So give me just 1 second. Figure this so you can see. All right. Let's see how much better that is. Okay. Hopefully that's up close enough for you to see. Okay. So I always, every time I stop, I put my finger right where it's at so that it holds the tension. and it gives me a second to kind of work and see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna have to be careful with how I move this to show y'all, because this will start to mess up my folds here each time. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is a zigzag pattern, basically. So like when you turn it to the side, you will see a zigzag as we tie. So now when we come over to here, we're going to go a zigzag on this other side. So because it came this way, now we're going here. So it goes on the bottom. And we're doing the same thing that we did on the top, except for it's the opposite. So you bring it around to the bottom. I like to pull slightly tight just so that it grabs the fabric enough just to give it a little bite. So it needs to bite into the fabric so that it doesn't slide. So then you're going to bring it over and bring it around back behind this last tie. Give it a pull. And that helps lock that into place. So here's that side. Okay. So now we can wrap this around twice and give it a good pull. And we're going to continue doing that. So I've moved this quite a bit, which has started moving some of these folds. So I'm going to have to be a little careful with that because on my bottom. So what's going to happen is if these get folded over too much, like if this one folds all the way over those won't get dye when we go to dye it. And so we need to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen. A little bit at the beginning becomes a lot at the end. So wherever your mistake is, it will start to show more and more as you progress. So the goal is to try to keep all of this all in line right from the start every time. Yes, I'm going to pull some of this just straight just to give it that little bit of tension. Okay, now on the side, we're going to bring it angled over to the top. Hold it. Over to here. Give it some tension. Bring it underneath and pull it. So when you bring it underneath, so see how it pretty much comes straight across right here. The bottom's going to need to be similar. This is a difficult tie to do. It can be very frustrating. This part right here is what makes it difficult, but what also sets this pattern aside from so many others. This is an advanced technique, and all it takes is some patience to do this. So multiple times, just practice, you'll be okay. If you do something that you don't like, you can continue and see what that does. Maybe you like it. Maybe it's not as big of an issue to you as it would be to someone else. So just if you're doing one of these, just make your first. Don't get over frustrated with yourself. Just keep going and get it done. After you do the first one, things start to change. You see it a little different. And then keep on making more. Make as many as you have to make until you find what feels right for you. Like, yes, there is a correct way to do the mandalas, but within that, there's still style that can be just you. If you look at all the top mandala makers, there are a few that are a little tough to tell. Some of them use similar colors, but there's a lot of times where you can be like, oh, that's a biffer or that's a makareth, and it's just, it's their work. You can see the work that they put into it. They spend their time on it. They're not rushing it. They know what they're doing. They've made quite a few of them because they're good at them. It's all about taking your time, making sure it's done correctly. There's not a secret to this to make it faster or quicker or just like some kind of secret fold where you put it together and all of a sudden you open it up and it's the mandala. It doesn't work. I once thought, hey, maybe there is a trick or a secret, and there kind of is, but the trick is practice. The secret is practice. It's just do it. Don't be worried about what it's going to look like. Just do it, because then on the next one you can fix it. And if you start making a whole bunch, like I have a ton of shirts that are mine, and then you can give away shirts if you want. If you have an outlet to sell, you can sell shirts. I started on Etsy. Etsy was the first place for me to be able to sell clothing. I had sold drawings and stuff to friends and to people out in the public. I was hitchhiking for a while, and I used to just draw. And I would sit on a sidewalk and just draw and let whoever wanted to come talk to me come talk. And some of them would buy artwork. Some of them would ask if I needed anything and go get what I needed and do some trades, or just bring me what I needed because they liked what I was drawing, liked what I was doing. And a lot of what I was drawing was these exact patterns that I'm tying right now. And it's kind of the whole reason that got me into tie-dye is I was drawing mandalas. I was drawing geometry, sacred geometry. And here we go. See our zigzag pattern starting to develop. Now you kind of want these petals to be as wide as you can make them. Real thin petals aren't going to look quite flowery, so make them as wide as you can. I know that it is a little hard to get a super wide one, but the more angled you can get this, the more your petal will show. Okay. Yeah. So I was drawing all this kind of stuff, and I was doing it freehand. I didn't want to use rulers. I didn't want to use compasses and protractors. So I was trying to get the angles all down, like in my head. I wanted to just know it. And so I was drawing all kinds of sacred geometry and stuff. And some friends were having a tie-dye party after some other friends had got married. So my friends at the shop at Everybody's Glass, where I sell my tie-dye out of in Spring, Texas. If any of you are local, I am in Old Town Spring at Everybody's Glass and Artwork. They are an art consignment store, and I have filled out the back of their store with my inventory. And many years ago, when the two of them got married, they went to a tie-dye party in Vegas, and then after that they came home, and some other friends who had gone with them had a tie-dye party at their house, and were like, hey, you should come over, your artwork would be cool on the tie-dye. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this, because I've been wanting the tie-dye. I just hadn't done it yet. I didn't even know if my friends liked tie-dye at all. And So I went over there and realized I knew how to do it, as they were like kind of showing it to me, and like they definitely um, just taught me the basics of it, and I was like, oh, there's a secret. I think I know it, guys, and I didn't quite know the secret, but I did realize that I understood the concept of it. I understood the concept of the folds and being able to make certain shapes out of those folds. And here we go. See how we're starting to develop some good sized petals here. And so after that, like we all tied um, a, a piece together, kind of made a friend tapestry, and everybody tied a different piece into it. And what I tied was not not good, but it didn't take me long to realize how to do things a little bit different, how to make things a little better, and how to improve. And so, with every piece, my goal was improvement and just make it better, make it better, make every piece better. Once you make it, remember the things that you do. If there's something that doesn't seem correct to you, like if you're trying to do something perfect, pay attention to that so that when you wash it out and open it, try and find that. I know people don't want to find their flaws and stuff, but I do that so that I can improve. Like, not necessarily flaws, they're just things that are done different. And so, if you want them done a certain way, find out how to do that a certain way. And so, you just go back and look at your work, study your own work, and see what's missing, see what needs to be added, what doesn't look right to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else's tie-dye looks like, because that's their tie-dye. You don't need to make your tie-dye look like theirs. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And I like to make my own style. Here we go. We're almost to our line. So I'm going to make one more petal. It's our last and final petal here. Yeah, as you can see, once you get going and you've done enough of these, it's just kind of second nature. You wrap the one you're working on, go back over the one you were just on once, just to hold it onto there. And that's what makes these stay together too, because if you don't go back, what will happen is when you pull right here, this pull, when it tightens, what it can do is it can make that slip this way, while this could possibly slip that way. You never know. Well, I mean, it does move a little bit, and so it'll end up being straight, and you won't have this back and forth pattern. That's where the petals come in. Without this pattern, there are no petals. It's a circle, and so you have to make sure that you have this zigzag pattern back and forth. So here's the bottom. There's the top. And I'm going to do one more thing. This isn't something that I see everybody do. This is going to be a border. So what we're going to do is make this tie the same distance from the top and the bottom. We're not doing the zigzag pattern. This is just going to be a border for the whole thing. So I'm actually going to be coloring that black. That'll put a nice black border around our whole piece. So we'll put that right there. It's going to be our last tie with the sinew. So pull that tight. And we're going to cut that. Make sure to leave a little bit so you got enough to pull to untie. For the rest of this, we're going to do the Rorschach scrunch. So we're going to take this, take the sleeve, we're going to scrunch it back down into itself. And then we're going to scrunch the rest of this. So before we scrunch, open this up a little bit to kind of take out that pattern that was there. And we're going to do a controlled scrunch into itself. So you want a nice tight scrunch. But you don't want it to overlap like this. If it overlaps when you dye this, nothing underneath will dye. So you need to make sure your scrunches are just scrunched into the shirt and level with the shirt. I'm going to turn this way. And we're going to scrunch the rest of the shirt into the bundle down here. Try to keep it away from here. It's like our unicorn horn. And we're going to give this a good squeeze. I'm going to press down while I'm squeezing. It's going to make it squeeze into itself so that no areas pop out. This is going to give it its good definition. We'll hold that right there. And grab some fishing line. And we're just going to do a simple slip knot. So just tie a little basic knot. And then pull this end through. Slip it over here. And we're going to secure it right here. Pull this. All right, now we're going to wrap this thing. So I push my fingers on the ground, on the table, try to drag it underneath so that it doesn't grab any of the shirt. We're going to pull it kind of tight, but not too tight. You just need to put tension on there so that this thing pulls into itself and holds itself tight. It's going to move around a little bit at the beginning. Just let it move however it needs to and tie it up in the best way that it just naturally forms. You don't want any of it to touch up here, so try to tie it all away from it. If you tie it too tight, it can collapse on itself. So you got to find that there is a perfect tightness, just like Marion or was it Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Is that perfect in the middle, just right. Don't want it too hot, don't want it too cold, don't want it too soft, don't want it too hard. It's got to be just right. Firm, not too firm. tight, but not too tight. Loose, but not loose. Just that right firmness. And you'll kind of feel. So when you pull, it can't really pull. It's about like, you can pull tighter if you wanted to pull tighter, but this is a piece of fabric. We're not trying to like manhandle it. It's not a piece of weight. We're being gentle with this. Gentle but firm. That's how we want this tied. This is only 15-pound cord. You pull it with 15 pounds of force. You definitely snap this. I have snapped this so many times. I do not like the 15-pound. I actually prefer to go 20-pound. I realize I'm moving that camera. I hope that camera hasn't been shaking for y'all too much. I'm working on a separate table than what my camera is on, but apparently they keep touching each other and they move each other. Yeah, the 20-pound is a little better. It's a little thicker. It's less likely to break. This 15-pound works well. It's very thin, and so it can do. It can get some tie some like small areas that you need to get tied without like covering up the material too much, but it just can't be pulled too tight. So it's everything has its like give and take. I've got tons and tons of different things that I tie with. I got fishing line, kite string. I got waxed braided cord, sinew, rubber bands, different weights of this monofilament, and then there's also the braided fishing line, which works really well too. That's just a little bit pricier as far as like some of the tying equipment goes. And so this monofilament, this is very, very inexpensive. You can get this for really cheap. A spool. Honestly, I think this spool is $3 or $4. I don't know. It's 500 yards. You can tie a lot of things with this. A lot. It's actually why I have this. I bought a spool. Excuse me. Bought a spool of 20-pound, and then this. And I think I've gone through the 20-pound, and so I've just been using this. And honestly, I think I have been using this for a couple months. it's lasted a good long while, but I use a bunch of other things too, so it's one of the reasons why this doesn't get used too much. But I've been using it a lot more now, along with the sinew. All right, so I'm making sure this whole thing is tight because I feel some spots where there's less tension, and I don't want that, so I don't think there's very many ties literally like going around right here. So we're going to make sure we got plenty of tension. I want even tension all the way around. That even tension is important. That's what keeps this thing flat and keeps it from collapsing on itself. So if you were to do this with rubber bands, it may collapse on itself because rubber bands have more tension on the outside than they do here. And so they bring the outer ends over each other or over into the middle. And so you don't want that. So the stuff like this works much better for that. So now I'm going to go around here just a little, just to kind of hold, make sure all this is in there tight. Okay. Now this step, this is what sets a mandala and a pro mandala apart. The next step. So what I'm going to do is bring this around to the petals, and I'm going to tie this so each petal is going to get split into 3, just like that. See? And so what it does is that, that, and that are now, there's a little tension between them. So what we can do is when we go to dye those, we can put a different color in each one, and it'll help keep them separated. Okay. It's just like that. You then continue that with all of them. So what you do is 2 wraps, follow the line here, and then bring it up and around like this. I have no idea if you can see that very well on there because this fishing line is clear. I'm sorry if you cannot see it. But now that once I do the whole thing, I'll show it on the camera a little bit better. That way, because I have to hold this tension here. You want this to stay tight the whole time. And so you're going to hold the tension on there that whole time. And wrap each one the same. And just like so. Follow the back. As you can see, I don't actually look at the back side. I've got it pretty much down. So for these ones here, these 3, I'm only going to do in half. The middle ones get a little tougher to split into 3, or I mean the center ones here, a little tougher to split into 3 because of how small they are. And around here. And we're also going to, I'm going to go over this a little bit too. Add some more, what this will do is put a little bit more random detail into that center. So you can pay attention to this if you want, or you can just wrap it randomly like this, like I am. Now I'm going to run this. I'm going to make it follow the sinew line and just make a single wrap to bring it all the way back to over here. Because we are now done wrapping with the sinew, or I mean wrapping with this. What I'm doing is just bringing it to this point here to give it a spot to wrap, pull it tight, and then lock it. And this is typically when I accidentally break the cord, because since I'm pulling it tight enough to lock it, right here is about all the pull I can do before it snaps, and it will snap off in there. It gets very hard to find the end if that happens, and I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to do that right there. Okay. So with these, see how I've got sectioned? There's like 3 sections in each one. Worked all the way up to here. I'm going to color each of those. I don't even know exactly how that center is going to look, but this is pretty much where our mandala petals are going to start. So now it's all tied. Now we're going to dye that. Sorry about that. Didn't realize the microphone was not turned on. So I've been adding the lighter colors to the darker colors. And then the darker, I'm moving my way back. And the darker colors on this side are shifted to the right just a little bit more. That way it'll give it a little bit of contrast there. And then after I add this one, I'm going to go through, I'm going to add a little black over the top of that. It's going to give it a little bit more pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that sit just a second there and grab one of my paper towels here. Okay, so I just pulled a little tiny bit of dye off of that. I'm going to come through and I'm just going to add the smallest little bit of black to this. Do the same thing on this side. Just tiny little black. And it's good to go, just like that. So we just barely put any on there. And now we're coloring in each of these spots. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the darker color and then work my way lighter to each one. So darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter. And so this one right here is just going to be my normal shade of blue. This is an unaltered blue right here. So I'm going to add a few drops, let it sit, add a few drops, let it sit. We may even have to come back and add dye to this later. So what I do is add a little bit. If you add too much at once, it can bleed. So you just want to add a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And always add from the top. So you don't need to go to the bottom and add dye because it won't go to the middle. So it's better to add dye here on the middle in the top and then let it go where it needs to go from here. So that was a pretty decent amount that went there. Do a drop at a time. Okay, I think probably one more right there. I might have put a little much because it definitely went over and around and got very close to bleeding under to this other side. So we don't want that to happen. I'm just going to come through. Okay. So actually what I could do is I've got, let's see. So I've got 5 blues here and a black. So technically I have 6 colors. And what I could do is separate every other color. And group one side with the other side. Okay, so what we're going to do here is these 3 colors that I put here on the left. Oops, so I just hit the camera. Let me adjust. Okay, sorry about that. So these 3 that I put here on the left are going to go on all these top ones. These 3 that I put over here to the right are going to go on these bottom ones. Okay, so for here, and let's see, I'm gonna, just so I don't confuse myself, so because I want to put the darker colors here and the lighter colors here, I just switched. I'm going to do that over here too. That way I'm not switching back and forth between lighter and darker colors for this. Okay, so for this one, we're going to take the D1. Actually, no, it's a little easier. Find the easiest way for you to hold it. And we're just going to put a little bit at a time. This being a darker color. If this gets anywhere where you don't want it to go, it is not as easy to get other colors to blend in. So instead of doing the next color, there's only two, I'm just going to do the darkest and lightest here. So now I'm going to put the lightest blue right here. And I'm going to use more of this. By doing more of this, it'll seep in, it'll blend in with that, and there'll be a border from the darker to lighter. Let's see, so it looks like we definitely need some more still. Need to make sure that we get all of it. So we'll look over on the side. So we add it here in the middle, look down the sides to see where the dye is going. This is going to give us some gradients through here. So there's going to be every other petal will be, well, actually it's kind of hard to explain. So we're going to have to see how this looks once it goes. Okay, so now we got the first. Move on to the second. Just a little bit of this darker one. It's labeled blue D1 for dark 1. And then I've got blue 3 and blue 1. And so just so blue 3 is my third, well, so blue, everything just marked blue is the normal strength. Blue 1 is the lightest. Blue 2 is a little bit deeper. Blue 3 is a little deeper. And then blue is the regular color. So my numbers get slightly lighter. Okay, so that should be good with the blue 3. I'm going to take this blue 1 and fill in the rest here. Just a little bit, because I accidentally put too much and it wanted to run down the side. Didn't give it a chance to run down the middle. So it's important to just put small amounts, let it sit. Small amounts, let it sit, but don't oversaturate it. That way you're not getting it to bleed into these other spots. And put a little bit right here. So it looks like it's trying to move over to this side, and I want it to go to that side a little bit. Okay, I think that one's good for here. We'll go ahead and flip over, and we're going to work on those ones. So I've got black. Be very careful with this black. Black is a very strong color. We definitely want to use it. That's where we get our most contrast, is with the black. I put black on just about every single one of my dyes. I know some people don't want black on their clothes, and so there have been a few shirts that I don't use black because I've been asked to make a few without black, so I have done that, but most of my dyes have black in them. I love the contrast that it gives, and I will definitely use black to make my other colors stand out. It's going to be my main color. I go through more black dye than anything. Okay. We can overlap this black just a little. That way it gets all the stuff underneath. And then moving on to the next, back on the black. Right here, just at the bottom. There we go. It's probably good on the black. Go back to our blue 2. Strength number 2. Yeah, if you ever want to see how I make these colors, my single color gradient videos. That was close. I was wanting to bleed right there. Sorry. Okay, so my single color gradient videos. In those, I go over how I make multiple multiple tints and shades of each color. So if you want to see how to make multiple colors from just one single color and get the most out of all your colors, those videos are, I have one for each color on them. You can watch any one. They all, it's pretty much the same concept for every color. Just whichever color is your favorite or whichever one you want to watch, you're welcome to go ahead and do so. So you see how we're starting to look over here. So I'm going to keep on this side at the moment. Do some black. So now we're back to the 3 part sections. So I'm going to be doing black in this first section, and then just regular blue in the second. You see, I don't actually fully saturate with that, with the black. The black is going to be very powerful and will take over these other spots. So what I'm going to do is I add that black, then I add this blue, and now I'm going to put some of this blue over this black. It's going to blend down into it, so it's going to have some black and some blue. And I do not thicken my colors. My black is thickened. It's the only color that I thicken. If you thicken your dyes, it will definitely help in these situations right here. It'll keep it in your spots a little better. Yeah, I do like to thicken the black just to give my bold lines, and so that the black doesn't move. If my other colors move a little bit, it's okay. So they're going to move into each other. They're going to create a little more of a gradient. So they may not be as crisp looking. Let's see. Okay. But I like gradients in my stuff, so it's okay. I am okay with that. I'm going to add a little more black right here. I notice I keep trying to go to the right side off the screen. Let me go over here. Tie-dye so you can't see. Try to keep that on the middle of the screen for you. So now my regular blue. I think I'll bring this into the camera a little closer as soon as I do this so you can get a nice, good look at this. Let it get a chance to focus itself. There we go. I don't know why it took, there it goes. Wish it would stay. There we go. It's too thin of something, so I gotta put my arm on it, give it something a little better to focus on. So you can see some of that color there. I could probably add some more blue in some of those spots. We'll let that sit for a little bit while we keep adding more. If we need to come back, we're going to come back and add dye to those spots. Okay, top side, back to here. So I'm going to be very careful not to switch the colors that I use from each side. You can just do all one side if you want, flip it over, do all the other side. It's definitely an option. So we'll see if there is a difference in color between the petals on that side and the petals on this side. Well, these are all made from the same color. There are different levels of shade, different levels of tint. And then one is actually solid black. So that will be the dark one. So we're going to let this one overlap these two. Since it wants to go into that crevasse right there anyway. So the main thing is that we get this fully saturated. We want dark and light. It's going to give our mandala kind of a glowing effect. Make it very bright. That's what we want. It's just a bright, glowing, blue mandala. So I'm going to use this to overlap. And I almost put too much to make it bleed. So I just went down on the bottom, sucked it up through that way, which we don't really want to happen. We want all of our dye to come in through the top here and work its way down the way it goes where it's supposed to go. Otherwise we'll get white in areas that we don't want white. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on this top side over here. Continue with these same colors. And these ones are going to take a bit more dye because there's quite a bit more here, but it's going to want to spread more. So you're going to want to be careful adding dye. Just do it slow. Take your time. Patience is key with one of these. Mandalas are not rushed. So take your time on this. A good mandala is going to take you at least a couple hours, a few hours. I don't even know how long this has been. Yeah, I tied a couple shirts today. This is the second one to dye. I got a couple more mandalas to try to dye today. One of them is a golden mandala. golden portal. That's what they asked for, was a golden portal. And then sent a picture of some light, pretty much the patterns of light. So I'm going to be trying to dye that so that it looks like light, basically. That's how I tied it. So there's a big mandala, but then I tie, instead of this, I changed the pattern, made it so it looks like streaks coming out of it, kind of like how light leaves those streaks, those lines. Okay. So let's take a little bit more. So still got a little white, but that's probably going to be good. Move on to this last section on this side. So you see it's starting to move into there. So this one's going to take the most amount of dye. Still want to make sure to put it all in from the top here. Go slow. Don't add too much because it will roll off. And then you'll get dye in a place where you don't want dye, or you do want dye there, but you get a color in a spot where you don't want a color. So this one I'm going to overlap these two just a little. Keep it on this side. So let it drip, 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 drip. Just let it drip in there slow. Okay, then I'm going to go over to the lightest one before I put too much of that on there. Yep, and I keep trying to shift over that way again. Yeah, I look at the camera every once in a while to kind of make sure I'm in the right spot. I got to lift my head to look up at it. It's about eye level. That way you're seeing what I see when I dye. So that when you do this yourself, you have the same experience that I have. It's a little easier to follow along. Okay, so we're going to flip this over. Oh, yeah, okay. Confused myself for a second there. Okay, now we're going over to black. Just a little bit, let it soak in. I'm going to go ahead and put some black over here too. So these are going to be dyed the same. And I'll give some of that dye a little time to sink in on that one just to the left. So what I'm going to do is put a little on here. Then I'll go back a little bit more right here. And then a couple more drops here. And right there should be good. And then we'll do the same thing with this. Dye one section while you let the dye seep in another section. Go back and forth. I guess that's the way that you can speed it up a little bit, so it's not just drop here, drop there, waiting for it to soak in, waiting for it to soak, waiting, 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 waiting. Always waiting, waiting longer, longer. Just wait for it to drip, 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 drip. Drip faster. Not really. We don't want it to drip too fast. Yeah, so you can see it's gonna take a lot here. So we're gonna just add some drops. We're gonna be patient and make sure it's done right, done well. So that is what we do here. We do it right, we do it well, but we also take into consideration this tie-dye, and we may mess up from time to time, and that is okay if we do. They're just little learning instances. We like to call them mistakes, but we'll just call them our chances to learn and grow. We don't make mistakes here. We just have new lessons that we either continue to repeat or we learn from and either never do it again or use it in the way it's supposed to be used, depending on what its context is. So we'll be going. Looks like we got most of our dye here. Add just a little bit at a time. Add a little bit more here too. All right. Just need a little bit more of this. Probably going to add a little bit more on these ones back here too. Just work your way back just a little bit. You don't want to overload these, make them bleed into each other. But we're going to look and see, look on the side, see where we need more dye. So definitely where the black is here. So we'll add a little more black. With this black being thickened, it does take a little bit longer for it to move around. So you'll just add a small amount, let it seep in. Small amount, let it seep in. Especially with a bottle like one of these. Okay, so it looks like I could use a little more of my regular blue. Just a little bit at a time. Drop or two. That way it gets to work where it needs to go. Same with over here. See how I've got some white. We want it to soak in naturally from the top, not from the side. I think we can do a couple more drops here, one or two, and same with here. And I think those are pretty much dyed. So now we're going to go to the border here. This is going to be all black. Let's get you a good look at that. So each one is its own gradient, little gradient fade in there. Okay, so let's take our black, and we're going to add from the top and from the side, or from the top and from the bottom. We don't want to add from the side. If we add from the side, what it'll do is the very top of the mandala in the very bottom of the mandala will have a big black spot coming out from the edges of it, where the middle won't. But by doing it like this, we will not have that issue. And depending on how much dye we can get into this, this is a little bit of a thick fold. This one may be a little time consuming here, which is plenty okay. We got all the time we need. Most of the hardest part of the shirt has been done. This part, this is going to be very quick to dye, very easy. All the hard part was done. So we're actually, even though we haven't even dyed most of the shirt is actually almost done. And you'll see why after we get this part done. This is going to dye about as quick as each one of those did. Maybe not quite as fast, but just about. It's going to take dye easier. Won't have to worry about dye bleeding as much. So it's just an easier part. I just saw that bleed. We didn't quite want it to bleed. We wanted to work our way down from the folds. If we add it from the side, it will look like the whole thing is dyed, when really it's not. None of those inner layers will have dye. So we need to add it from the top side and the bottom side. That way it works its way down into the folds. And then you look. So I'll put a few more drops here, and then I'll show you how far the dye has worked itself. Okay, so by adding the dye there and then turning it to the side, you can see that we still have a ways to go. So there's still going to be some white in there. If we were just to add white right there, then that would be black, but then all the inner layers would be white and we wouldn't be able to see. Same with on this side. So we're going to continue, add a few more drops at a time, and then we'll flip it over and do the same thing on that side until the two sides reach each other. So this is definitely a game of patience. How patient can you be? The patient make mandalas. And that's probably it. I don't know. Can the impatient make a mandala? Let me know. If you're impatient, can you make a mandala? Let me know if you make one. How fast can you make it? Make a game. See if you can make a mandala from start to finish. Record time. World record time. Call it Guinness World Records. And let them know. I made a mandala in 5 minutes. It's perfect. And everyone will, what? No way. Mind blown. This person's a genius. Real tight, a genius. Alright, so we've almost got all the black we need. It's having a hard time soaking up there. So that means it is pretty much soaked all the way through. As we can tell here, it's just a tiny bit of room there. Same with there. What we'll do is add a couple more drops to right here. Just go real slow. And I think that it's going to be good on our black dye. Okay. So we're going to set this here. See if it'll balance itself. Yep. All right, cool. Rearrange the colors to, let's see. Should we have dark to light? Is that what we do? No, we're going to do light to dark to light. Okay. So rearrange these back to their normal order. Okay. This blue one is actually, you flip over, make sure to get it all right here. And this is going to make a glow around the outside of the mandala. So by making it light like this, it makes the mandala stand out in comparison. It's like light behind it, projecting behind it, giving it a nice little halo. It's an angelic mandala. Ooh, it's glowing. It's so bright we can't see. Straight from the heavens. Make sure to get all the way around on this. Okay, now I can set that down for most of the remainder of this, actually. We're just going to work our way up in number. So there's number 2. Make sure that we saturate this really well. Just slightly go over the color next to it. Make sure each color overlaps just a little. That overlapping is what will give it a gradient. So let's have a nice gradient radiating from the mandala and then from the spine of the back. Oops. You know, once this gets a little bit heavier over here, it'll hold itself. Yeah, blue 3, making sure I got the right color. So they're all going to get a little deeper. I'm going to stop at the D1. I'm not going to actually put the black in these colors here. I'm going to put black over the top. It's going to give it a bunch of contrast and just make it look, give it that look that we're going for. At least that look I'm going for. I don't know what look you're going for, but if you're watching this video, I would assume you're going for the same look I'm going for, and so you'll probably do what I'm doing. Maybe not. I don't know. It's up to you. That's the great thing about tie-dye. You can do what I'm doing, if you can, or you can do whatever you want, and you can just use this as a guide, kind of help you out a little bit here and there. Okay, I'm going to overlap this next one a little bit. Make sure to get it good and saturated, but not too far over, because this is the spine of the back here. We want that to be lighter. So right here is going to be some of the shoulder, some of the neck, some of the sleeve. It's going to run down the hip. Or run down the side of the stomach, down towards the hip. And now we're going to work our way back to the lighter colors. It's just the regular blue. Make sure to overlap quite a bit. So I'm trying to get the lightest color in the middle. You can see there's not too much room to work there, but it's okay. So each color is going to overlap the color next to it, and that's going to give us a gradient out to the lighter colors. We got two colors left, our two lightest blues, and this is mainly just going over the top of the other color, and then whatever bleeds that way goes that way. And then our blue one, I'm going to make sure to get this on here before all of that other color moves over. Okay, just like that. I'm going to overlap. So I'm going to come through this regular blue here, give it a nice little healthy coating. So we're going to flip this over and look at the other side. So I'm going to take a little more of this. That way we can blend this right here in the center. See how it blends from light to dark to light. Now we're going to take our black and cover the whole thing. Just a little bit though. Not enough to saturate, just enough to get on the top. It's going to give a darkness to each of the colors. So we're going to flip it over. And this is all getting black too. Bring it to about right there. Be careful around the edges so that I don't get too much black spilling over, especially right here. This being the spine and there being black on the other side. If you put too much black right here, you'll have a black blob in the middle of your spine on the back of the shirt. It's just a decent, healthy layer on here. That way you get the shirt fully saturated, but not oversaturated. So you want to get every little spot. Put a little bit on. Watch how it's bleeding into it. You see how I'm kind of at an angle because of the way this is. So if you need it to be level, pick it up. And we're just going to get this last little bit over here. And I think this is all completely dyed. So we're going to make sure we got every little spot. Try not to oversaturate it. You don't want this to drip. Okay. We're going to let that sit till tomorrow and then rinse it out. All right, so our shirt has been washed and dried. So we'll go over this just a little bit. As you can see, so here's that thick border that I put on here. This is to give it that nice bold outline that goes around there. Makes this thing stand out. You know, this is the center of our image, and so that stands out right there. And then as you can see in the middle right here, how we had the lighter colors on the outside, and then it got a little bit darker towards the center, and then we put that little bit of black just over it. And then when we look here, so we've got petals to go here. I'm gonna go over. Okay, so every other petal was one side. And then every other petal next to that was the other side. So you can see how we've got black and then not so dark, and then black, and then not so dark, black, not so dark. So all of this, when we had it tied up, was one side, and then this was the other side. So top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, and that's how we get the differences in the petals in this. And so we've got a few different, you can tell there's a little bit different color, not too much different, but we only use the one color and some black. So there's only so much gradients that you can get in it, but you can see how every petal has a gradient from light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. So then we've got our Rorschach scrunch around it. Flip this over for the back side. And our Rorschach pattern, just like this. You can see, so the side that was all black is this darker black, and then the side that was blue and had the black put over it, that's where this like lighter black or the darker blue comes in. So if you have any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. My name is Nate. Thank you for watching.